So can you talk a little bit about some of the newer types of, or maybe next generation vaccines that your lab is working on?
Yeah, so Balaji, as you know, we've been working on a particle-based flu vaccine for a number of years now. And if you think about the current seasonal flu vaccines, they're largely geared at driving one type of immune response. That's an antibody response. And that antibody response is geared to only one protein in the virus. That's that HA protein that I talked about earlier. When we get infected, though, by natural infection, we mount a very diverse immune response. So we certainly mount antibodies against HA, but we mount antibodies against other flu proteins. And then we have another type of immunity called T cells. These T cells will find virally infected cells and kill those virally infected cells, thereby limiting the spread of the virus. And our current vaccines are not geared to drive T cell based immunity. And so we've thought for years if we could get T cell based immunity on top of antibody responses, it would confer greater levels of protection. The other thing that the vaccines don't do currently is they don't drive mucosal based protection. And so if you get a shot in the arm, you generate an antibody response and antibody circulates around, but you're really not parking cells within the lungs and nasal passages waiting to fight the virus when it shows up. So one of the ideas with this particle-based vaccination was be needle-free. We'd be able to give it in the nasal passages and drive local-based protection, both T and B cell or antibody-based protection, and give higher levels of protection than what's currently seen with the current seasonal flu vaccines. And that's what we've been able to show in animal models. And as we started out with vaccines against seasonal flu, about a year and a half ago, as you know, we were funded to look at trying to drive a better vaccine against avian flu. At the time, we weren't having the major outbreaks in cattle and others that we've seen here, but it was certainly something that was on the horizon as a possibility. And so we've developed a vaccine against H5N1, and we've started to test that vaccine in preclinical animal models. That vaccine is showing very good efficacy at driving both T cell and B cell, or antibody-based immune responses, systemic immunity, as well as immunity within the nasal and respiratory tree, giving this that local as well as systemic-based levels of protection. And interesting enough, we've now done some trials as to whether that vaccine would confer protection against high-path avian flu, but also seasonal, if you will, H5N1 or low-path flu. And the vaccine has performed very, very well.